millions could starve. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is sparking a global food crisis. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Matt Gnezda, filling in for Chris Chappell, who's stuck in New Jersey today. And if being stuck in New Jersey wasn't bad enough, the world is now facing a global food crisis because of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And it's going to affect the U.S. too. Take it away, President Biden.
With regard to food shortage, yes, we did talk about food shortages. And it's going to be real. The price of these sanctions is not just imposed upon Russia. It's imposed upon an awful lot of countries as well, including European countries and our country as well.
This will be hard for a man known for his love of pizza and ice cream, and pizza-flavored ice cream, which is a real thing and sounds kind of good, actually. Maybe I've been living in New York City for too long. But don't worry. If the global food shortage gets real bad, the people can just eat cake made of bugs, which is also a real thing, but sounds incredibly awful. Let's talk about something less depressing, like the coming food shortage. You see, both Russia and Ukraine are among the top exporters of wheat. They comprise 14% of all global wheat production and 29% of all wheat exports. Ukraine's fertile soil is why the region is called Europe's breadbasket. And a lot of countries depend on Ukraine's wheat. Almost 50 countries rely on Russia and Ukraine for at least 30% of their wheat imports, and 26 depend on them for more than half of their imports. The two countries account for about 12% of the calories the world trades, which is a lot. That's almost as many calories as a deep-fried Twinkie burger. Now that's American ingenuity. So Russia and Ukraine produce a lot of the world's wheat, but the conflict in Ukraine has upended world food supplies. Ukraine has banned exports of grain and other key food staples, and Russia is blocking ships carrying grain exports in the Black Sea. On top of being sanctioned, Russia also banned grain exports to neighboring countries. And that's just current exports. Future crops are also at risk. According to the UN Food and Agriculture Organization, between 20 and 30% of wheat, corn, and sunflower seed crops in Ukraine will either not be planted or remain unharvested during the 2022-23 season. So food isn't being exported, harvested, or planted, which means this food shortage is leading to higher prices. Grain prices already soared by 50% in the first 2 weeks of the conflict alone. And it's not just food crops. We're also experiencing a huge fertilizer shortage, since Russia is a major producer. And that's also leading to record high prices. According to the UN Secretary General, war in Ukraine is threatening to spiral into a global hunger crisis. So get ready for hell. Yeah, this isn't the apocalypse. The apocalypse already happened. We just didn't notice, and now we're descending to hell. Which actually makes a lot of sense. How else do you explain the bug cakes? The world is already beyond satire. And after the break, how Africa and the Middle East are feeling the pain of food shortages. Welcome back. The Middle East and Africa are being hit the hardest from the food crisis caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Countries in those regions import anywhere from 1/3 to 90% of their wheat from Russia and Ukraine. Taking both countries out of the picture is putting a huge strain on food supplies and prices.
Egypt, for example, is one of the largest importers of wheat in the world, and 80% of its supply is from Ukraine and Russia. It is considering raising the price of bread for the first time in 3 decades. It's no different in Lebanon, where authorities warn the central bank may not be able to subsidize bread if prices continue to rise. The Tunisian government, which is believed to be running out of money, has been rationing flour and reduced bread production.
Impoverished countries in Africa depend on Ukraine. It's the largest source of food for the UN World Food Program. But now the program has to slash rations in half for refugees. According to the executive director, we have no choice but to take food from the hungry to feed the starving.
We are helpless to them. We can't do anything for them. Those people who are being affected and their malnutrition, they lost their livestock, we are not doing anything for them.
We're so short of funds already, and now with Ukraine, we've got 50% rations for people, for example, in Yemen. I've just cut 50% rations for 8 million people. Niger, 50% rations. Chad, 50% rations, and 50% don't have anything, those who are in extreme need.
Experts warn that the number of people facing acute hunger could rise to 500 million as a result of the conflict. Naturally, people are making it worse by panic buying. Governments are panicking too. They're restricting food exports. Some are already hoarding grain. China already got way ahead of the curve, though, by hoarding over half the world's grain before the conflict in Ukraine, just like they hoarded medical supplies before the pandemic. In response, the US and other nations in the G7 said, "We will avoid export bans and other trade restrictive measures, maintain open and transparent markets, and call on others to do likewise." But if the food crisis continues, the world could become more politically unstable. And if that happens, things could get violent. I'll explain after the break. Welcome back. As food, fertilizer, and gas prices rise, protests are erupting around the world, from Greece and Spain to Iraq and Sudan. We saw this play out during the world food crisis in 2007 to 2008. It spurred riots worldwide, from Haiti to Egypt.
A street protest against rising food costs recently turned violent in the Haitian capital Port-au-Prince, as well as in cities in other developing countries.
Boiling point in the northern Egyptian city of Mahala. An estimated 2,000 people took to the streets, setting fires, looting shops and throwing bricks at riot police. A simple combination of steeply rising prices and stagnant wages have pushed these people to the edge.
We also saw this in 2011. Rising food prices played a huge role in the Arab Spring, a series of anti-government protests in the Middle East. Bread, freedom, social justice was among the most popular chants on the streets of Egypt during the Arab Spring protests. It's why some activists called it the Hunger Revolution. The Arab Spring eventually led to the toppling of several Middle Eastern leaders, including in Tunisia and Egypt. Like I said earlier, two countries that are now having issues with wheat imports. Of course, there were other reasons for the Arab Spring that toppled many authoritarian leaders. And I'm not saying that will happen again, but food insecurity is a big catalyst for social unrest, which can then lead to political instability. This could get the US embroiled in even more conflicts around the world. Yay. And speaking of, how badly will this food shortage hit the US?
And I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. I'll do it.
Seriously, if you live near Alex Jones, move. Now, on the bright side, the US only imports a fraction of its food. And what we do import mostly comes from Mexico and Canada, like avocados and those really tiny cucumbers. However, with fertilizer and gas prices going up, US farmers may not be able to meet demand. Farmers are cutting back on fertilizer, threatening the size of the next harvests. One farmer told the Washington Post that last year his fertilizer cost around $500 a ton. This year, it's around $1,500. Now, the US is the third largest exporter of wheat in the world. We could cut back on that, securing that for domestic consumption. But that would only make the global food crisis worse. So, what can America do to help the food shortage problem? Well, according to then presidential candidate Biden back in 2020, the fundamental issue with food shortages isn't the food shortage.
We don't have a food shortage problem. We have a leadership problem.
And now I agree with Biden. We have a leadership problem. Because if America acted like a real global leader, we could solve this food shortage easily by exporting our greatest crop, deep-fried Twinkie burgers. So what do you think of the global food crisis? Are you growing your own food or moving far away from Alex Jones? Leave your comments below. And if you like the show, remember that we rely mainly on direct support from viewers like you, not on YouTube ad revenue. So please visit our new Locals community at americauncovered.locals.com. Become a supporter so you can help us keep making great episodes. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Matt Gnezda. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.